And invariably we'd get picked up, you know, and we'd go upstate looking for a guitar player, and we had no place to stay. We just figured things would work out, and we wound up in some crazy situations. We wound up in like a commune of people living on a farm who used to pick the eggs in the morning, I think, and so I was sleeping on the floor. I didn't want to eat the food because it just looked horrible. And during the middle of the night, I'm really, really hungry. So I knew there was still some food in the oven. So I opened it up, and there's a mouse running around in the oven. So, you know, and you know, then once we couldn't figure out where we were going to stay, and suddenly, you know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and a van pulls up, and two young women say, "Get in." So we get in, and they drive us up a mountain. Like, if we had to leave that house, we'd freeze to death. We were in the middle of nowhere, and we're laying on the floor, and we're sleeping literally with dogs on the floor, and it was subflooring. They hadn't even put a floor on, and these girls were in their beds, and one of them starts walking around the room naked. And I see Jean, and I said, "Jean," I said, "if we're wrong, we're going to be really cold." So thankfully he waited, but you know,
Till the next morning.
Till the sun came up. And anyway, he got what he wanted. And it was very funny because this girl, not that there's anything funny about hearing loss, because I know about that, but she had a hearing aid. And every time he would get close to her to talk, he would go, "Boo!" We had some great times, you know. It's unbelievable. I mean, we both started out living, you know, we were both living in our parents' houses. And his mom, her affectionate name for me was the Bum. So, you know, do you have to bring the bum over? And I remember they lived on the second floor of a 3-story home that they had. They rented out the top and the bottom. And one day I'm calling up to Jean, and she goes, "Stan, we live in a quiet neighborhood." You know, like, well, I'm sorry, I live on the other side of the tracks. You know? So it was an interesting relationship.
What does she call you now?
What does she call me now?
Yeah.
Mr. Bum.
Savior.
So you go to LA. So the two things about LA. The first time you came back, you said you asked God not to take it away.
Yeah.
Do you still ask God not to take it away? And why do you think He hasn't?
You know, it's when you finally taste success, or when you finally get something or a glimpse of what you're trying to do, then the idea of losing it becomes much more frightening, because you have a glimpse, you have a taste of what it's like. So early on, once we started having some success, once we started having a little bit of money, very little. I mean, we were getting, I think, $85 a week, and feeling, you know, very lucky. We could buy things, and we had lots of young women, which made it great. Because look, I was a chubby, unpopular kid who chased girls who wanted nothing to do with me, and all of a sudden, the roles were reversed. So as soon as we had just a smidge of success, I found myself literally praying and going, "God, look, now that I know how great this is, don't take it away from me." And maybe that's the incentive you need to work harder to maintain something. You don't get something by chance, and you don't keep it by chance. You get it and you keep it by working your ass off.
Did you think when you were on the sailboat that day that maybe it was going to be going away?
I'm sorry?
The sailboat story? When you got stuck out in the catamaran, sorry. The catamaran off in LA. I think was it LA? Off the coast of LA? The sea urchin? Hawaii. Sorry.
Oh, the
The
catamaran.
catamaran. You got stuck out there. Just tell that story.
You know, until the Kiss Cruise, I never went on a boat again. I was scared shitless. We were in Hawaii, and we were just hanging out. The band was there for a week or two, and one of the guys said, "Come on, let's go out on a catamaran." Now, I don't know if you read this anymore. I used to read it when I was a kid. If you were waiting in the doctor's office, you read Reader's Digest because it was sitting there. And there was always a story about somebody who was at sea for 3 months eating turtles, you know, on a raft and trying to catch seagulls. So I'm thinking, do I really want to get on this catamaran? And the guys are going, come on. So I get on the catamaran with our pyrotechnician. Now back then, a pyrotechnician was basically an arsonist. I mean, it wasn't somebody licensed, it was just somebody who liked to blow shit up. So it's him, and I should have known from his nickname. His nickname was Zero. So there's me and Zero, and my security guy who was called the Doberman, you know, and one other guy, and we get on this catamaran, and we're heading out, and I'm thinking, this is really not a good idea. And as we're going out, another one is coming in, and they say to us, be really careful, the tides are incredible, and we couldn't get back in. So as we're going out, I start to have a panic attack. I'm looking, and the shore's getting further and further away. And I go, what the hell am I doing? So I did something really smart. I jumped off the catamaran. You know, I figured I don't want to be eating turtles, and I don't want to be trying to, you know, catch seagulls. So jumped off the ship and tried to swim in. But being a kid from the city, I didn't realize you have to swim with the shoreline and try to go in diagonally. So I'm fighting the currents trying to go in, and I'm getting nowhere except exhausted. I'm stepping on sea urchins, a nightmare. Finally, I see some surfers, and I say to one, hey, I'm having trouble getting in. They go, get the fuck out of here. So I'm watching as I'm beginning to fade because I'm getting exhausted. And meanwhile, my security guy is also in the water with me because after I dove in and I'm here and the catamaran's going that way, I went, don't just stand there, jump in. So he jumped in, so we're both drowning. So at some point, I'm going, wow, everybody on the shore is having a great time. I can see everybody, they're playing, having a great time. I go, I'm dying out here. I'm gonna die out here, and life goes on. And it's really interesting when you're in a position where you really see life coming to an end, and it doesn't affect anybody else, and you begin to realize just how unimportant you are in the world. But luckily for us, the guy who rents the catamarans on the shore had binoculars. So he came out with a boat, and they hauled us out, and laying on the bottom of the motorboat, and they took us in, and I could barely walk because I had all these sea urchins in my feet. So I get up to my room, and you can try pulling them out, but they're almost like a mineral, like a stone. They're purposely like that, so you can't pull them out. The sea urchin protects itself by embedding these spikes in you, and they don't come out, they just break. So I called down to the front desk, and I say, I stepped on a sea urchin, what do I do? And he goes, you pee in the sink and you put your foot in it. And I'm thinking, very funny, asshole. As it turned out, 10 minutes later, I'm in the sink with my foot. And it worked. But that was the last time I went on a boat until this. And this is worth it.
Yeah.
When I was reading the book, I got to that part, I'm like, how the hell do they talk him into the cruise? Like, they must, it's crazy. Like, I don't know how they did it, but I'm glad they did. I think we are glad they did.
You bet, Paul.
Okay, first time Kiss makes money in a show, you each get $13.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first big check? What do you remember the first? What we got? What is it? Well, do you remember your first one?
Well, the first gigs we did, I would rent the truck. I would go to Long Island City, which is an industrial area in New York, and I would rent somebody who really gave 110% to the band. He really was very devoted to the band. And honestly, more devoted to the fans than to the band. He appreciated everybody who put him in the position he was in. So Eric was on his first tour, and we were having a lot of fun with him because he was so green. We needed somebody to lovingly, and we would be in Europe, and he would ask us how you say, can I have some butter, in French, and we would make up words, and he would ask the waitress, and she'd look at him. Another time, and he had this thing, he would kind of go, schmuck, after you would do stuff. And we were in one place, and they were giving us these hot plates of food, and they said, hot plate, and just instinctively, you just hear, and his eyes just close, and schmuck. And this went on all the time. I mean, God love him. This guy would, when we were in Europe with Bon Jovi was actually our opening act on that tour, and Eric came down to the bar, and I said, "Where have you been?" He says, "Oh, I was upstairs with this journalist." I said, "Oh, cool." And he goes, "Yeah, she asked me to take off my clothes, and she would take pictures of me in the tub, but she wouldn't show anybody." What? He goes, "Oh, shit." So there these, literally, it turned up in Sounds or New Music Express, one of those papers, Eric in a bubble bath, naked. I mean, it's just, so, anyway, so back to the story that we were just talking about, Andy was talking about. So we're in a disco in Paris, and Eric goes, "There's a guy over there who's hitting on me." I mean, so what? So he goes, and he just keeps looking at me. So Ace, being brilliant, says, "Let's make out, so he'll think you're with me." And that's a true story. What are you guys doing? Great solution. Let's make out.
They're all over the place. They're all over. Okay. Did you really tell your mom if she wanted to see a picture of your new girlfriend to go buy a Penthouse magazine?
Yes.
Okay. The same woman you bought a washer and dryer for.
Explain that one.
There was a price of admission to this club for my mom, And honestly, my parents were exposed, no pun intended, to a whole different life, and in some ways I enjoyed kind of pushing it in their faces, that I wasn't like them and that my life was very different. I remember one time I was talking to my mom, and I was trying to remind her of somebody I was seeing. I said, she's blonde and tall and has big boobs. She goes, "All your girlfriends are blonde and tall and have big boobs." But yes, she said, "Are you seeing anybody special?" I said, "Pick up this month's Penthouse."
So, Evan's born. I know we're moving forward. Evan's born, and you talk about what the role cooking became. That you guys would cook together as a family, and it became this thing, and you had some recipes that you kind of, your go-tos. And
I was frightened. All of a sudden, I'm a single dad, and I've got to cook 3 meals a day, and I've got to get my son to school, and I have to do homework, and I had to make puppets, all kinds of stuff that I never did before in my life. So it was really boot camp for me. And it was really important for him to eat well. So I started cooking, and he turned out pretty well. He's taller than I am. He's taller, better looking, smarter, so he and I are, I don't know where he is, maybe he's back there. He's a good one. He's my idol.
So, how did you get a 6-year-old to eat Brussels sprouts? That's what I want to know.
A gun? A clown suit? I don't know. You make them great, and there's a recipe. You don't have to buy the book just for the recipe, but I do Brussels sprouts with like cherries and Parmesan cheese and balsamic vinegar and all kinds of stuff, and they're awesome. They're awesome. Even people who hate Brussels sprouts, if you still hate them, take the Brussels sprouts out and eat the rest of it.
The chef read the book, and he's made an attempt to make these Brussels sprouts. Please welcome Chef Colin. Now, all we have is what you have in the book, so there's a lot unsaid. But thought maybe you'd try one.
Pick it up so we can
Instructive
see.
piece.
I'll take them. Awesome.
Just so you guys know, the chef, those are going to be on the Garden Cafe for dinner tonight. So, two more questions for you. One is,
Good.
you're out in public, you're walking around, someone sees
We
you,
know
they're a
what we're eating
fan,
tonight.
they want to express it. Can you share ways where you really feel you really enjoy being engaged by guests? A good way for a fan to engage you in public.
It used to be naked. Them days are over.
It's okay.
Look, I mean, everybody knows what's rude and what's proper and what's not, when somebody comes over to me at dinner and goes, I know I'm interrupting you, I go, wait, you just said I know I'm interrupting you, so why are you interrupting me? If I'm happy to spend time with anybody at the appropriate time, let me finish my food, and I'm happy to spend time. People come over to me in the market or wherever I am. I never understand when people have issues with that, because I'm always surprised when somebody comes out of a restaurant and gets pissed off that people are taking photos. Well, if those people weren't taking photos, you couldn't afford to eat there. Let's be thankful for the people who make us what we are and acknowledge them. So, that's what KISS has always been about. What we were. I remember sitting in the audience at the Fillmore East, which was in New York. And at the Fillmore, for $3, $3, $4, or $5, you see 3 amazing bands. And I saw Jimi Hendrix Experience a couple of times, Zeppelin, Derek and the Dominoes, Humble Pie. Everybody would play there. But the thing we wanted to be was the band we never saw. Outside of those exceptions, most bands either looked good and sounded horrible, or sounded great and looked horrible, or just came out on stage with total disrespect for the audience. When you got somebody on stage who thinks they're doing you a favor by showing up, don't go see them again. I want you to know that every time I step up on stage, I'm thrilled and thankful that anybody is there to see it, and I hope I live up to what you expect.
I just had one more question. This is probably my favorite part of the book, when Evan was born. And you had a quote in here that I think it sounds like it hit home for you, but definitely for any dad. I have a couple of kids. So it said, up until that day, life never made much sense to me. You showed up on Earth, you spent a little time here, and you died. But as soon as I held Evan and made eye contact, I suddenly got it. We don't really die. We're here on Earth to leave the world better for our children, and through our children we live on. Are you kidding me?
I don't know about people here, but life seems so weird, because you pop up on Earth, you live, and then you're gone. And it just didn't make any sense to me until Evan was born. And then, you know, my subsequent children, you know, having Colin and Sarah and Emily, really what we're here to do is to be great parents. And what we're here to do is to leave better children than we were. It's something that's been going on since time began. And when I first saw Evan, all of a sudden I went, I get it. I get it. We don't ever really leave here. We continue on through our children. So it's up to us to make sure that what we leave behind is something better than what we were. So, simple.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, Paul, I think on behalf of everyone, congrats on the book.
Thank you.
Congrats on your life. And thanks for sharing with it.
Thank you.
Mr. Stanley.